Recently, I participated in a webinar on the evolution of work, time, and productivity. It got me thinking about what makes for a productive board. And of course, if we look at the evolution of how boards work, there's been some big changes over the last decade or so. We've gone from getting hard copy board packs couriered to our offices to now almost universally using some sort of board portal or software. And that means board papers are more accessible, they're more secure, we can annotate them, and indeed we can collaborate with other directors on them. At the beginning of COVID, we also had another big change in how boards operate, where we had to shift from meeting face-to-face to meeting virtually. And at the beginning of COVID, many directors said to me, this is making us much more productive. We don't have travel time, we start the meeting on time, and we finish the meetings in a relatively condensed period of time because of the fatigue of meeting virtually. But has this made boards more productive? And I think the common view is there needs to be a balance. What many directors have found is meeting virtually has missed out on some of the things that actually make the board effective and indeed therefore more productive. And that's things like the relationship building that goes with a board dinner the night before the meeting, the snippets of information that you get around the board meeting, the conversation with the executive over morning tea, for example, the body language that you pick up on when you meet face to face, and of course the ability to oversee safety and culture, which is really hard to do through a screen from your office. So the standard practice that I'm seeing sort of emerge now is that boards are having their committee meetings virtually and their board meetings face to face. So it's making boards perhaps more efficient, but also more effective through that balance. Of course, there's other things that make boards productive, and the agenda, I think, is really key to that. So the standard board meeting agenda, in my mind, needs to be around purpose, strategy, performance, and effective management of risk. And for that reason, I've always favoured a broad format, which is strategy up front, which is about what's happening in our strategic environment, what are some key strategic issues, how we're performing against strategy, followed by matters for decision, matters for discussion, and then matters for information. Another way to look at the agenda, and particularly after I participated in this webinar, was to think about the prioritisation of tasks. And that's another lens through which we might look at an agenda. What's not only urgent, but what's important. And Covey's got a really good framework, of course, which is about first things first, and might be a useful way for boards to think about their agenda. Other things that make boards productive: effective board chair, effective board briefing papers, and I've done posts on both of those topics. And the third one is an effective company secretary, which I'm going to do a post on shortly. Finally, I want to leave you with another question, and that is, we've talked about boards being productive, but how do boards oversee their companies being productive? And it's not a question I often hear boards ask. So I'd like to leave you with that thought. If you're sitting on a board, how do you make sure that your company is productive?